right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, this one is going to be worth why being here on a Sunday, because we've got somebody that goes by LRB, LRB, LRB. And if you're a fan of UKW and NSAW, you've heard those chants. You may have even chanted those over and over and over. And our guest, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing these belts all on this wall here, whether you're listening to this or watching it on Facebook or Sportswire Radio or Northeast Streaming Sports Channel or YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever else it might be. He very well could be having more gold in the future on that wall, especially when it comes to NSAW. He's got quite a resume. His resume includes being the first ever two-time UKW Academy champion, also a former UKW TV champion. He is one half of the Northern Warriors with our guest 2 weeks ago, the wild card, Tommy Dillon, who we had a legendary feud with in UKW. And he is going to be speaking quite a bit about some of my friends, including the working class militia, because last time we saw him in NSAW, well, of course, he was wrestling the working class militia. So without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one Global Sports Show pro wrestling star here, one half of the Northern Warriors. That's LRB, 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 LRB. My friend, how you doing?
Hello. Not bad, mate. Thank you for that amazing introduction. When I've watched it before and I see these introductions, it just absolutely, I love it.
I appreciate that.
One of my questions were going to be how your neighbours feel about this, but I caught that up on Disciples the other day, so not too bad.
Well, I mean, the good news is I have nobody home in my house at the moment, so there's nobody that can tell me, hey, you're a bit loud. The good news is my neighbor to my right, I'm pretty sure isn't home because I haven't seen a light on a couple of days. Maybe he's knocked out because I've yelled so loud just saying LRB, LRB. My neighbor to the left, I have no idea where they may be, and I don't even know if I want to ask. And across the street, as I pointed out to Disciple, my neighbors are dead people, literally a cemetery. So I guess they're okay with it. So, yeah, I mean, the bigger question is, how's my chest going to feel after that yell in the next hour or so? But, hey, listen, it's all worth it because I've got somebody in yourself who is obviously a long list of accomplishments in your repertoire, your resume. Two-time UKW Academy champ, UKW TV champion, obviously a huge part of things here, an up-and-coming company here called Nonstop Action Wrestling. So, I mean, LRB, I got to ask you, because I've heard all these wrestlers in Nonstop Action Wrestling over the past, 3-4 weeks, right, make their case in terms of being in this 8-person tournament to crown the company's first ever world-class champion. I mean, look at it, all these belts on this wall, my friend. I mean, LRB, you got to make the case for us here tonight on Sportswire Radio because your resume is right up there with Disciple, your tag team partner, the wild card Tommy Dillon, or even guys like Bentley who've staked their claim and anybody else. So I turn it over to you now.
I've had a fair few people staking the claim. Like I said, as you can tell, you see 4 belts there out of the 29 I have. So I do like to collect belts.
And you've won a few too, I understand.
Yes, and I've won a few as well. So whether it's collecting replicas or winning real championships, I like belts. So I will, if I'm wanting my name, hopefully in this tournament. I mean, whether it happens, whether it doesn't, that's down to NSAW management. I'd like to think my name's up there. I really would. Surprise if not. But let's just go for the instance I am in. Everyone better get ready. So I will run through anyone and everyone if it means becoming the first champion.
I would have to think, though, with your resume, leave aside the replica belts you have. Leave aside that, right? But I would have to think, LRB, in terms of the amount of belts that you've won. I mean, I know Tommy Dillon's won a few, and Disciple has been a world champion. So, I mean, that's all fine and well. But I would have to think, though, right? If I'm going to crown the first ever champion in NSAW history, it would be a no-brainer that you would be in that tournament, though, right? I mean, just thinking about it from objectively, correct?
Yeah. But obviously, again, it's down to management. I mean, I've seen your past few interviews, especially with the society, claiming them three are going to be in it, or they're claiming there's conspiracy theories. No, I get on well with NSAW management, Joshua Snow.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've got no qualms to who he puts in, who he don't put in. It's all down to them.
Let me ask you though, because obviously you guys have been in the ring with the society. You guys know them very well. I mean, do you feel like though, in one sense, maybe that approach has helped them to an extent because the lawman Kyle Kennedy he's getting a match actually with Conor Cage in order to actually be in the tournament when originally there was no guarantee he was going to be in the tournament. I mean,
yes,
from one standpoint, do you look at it and say, well, maybe their strategy is paying off? I mean, is there anything that you felt you should or could do differently when it comes to making the case to management, or what's your thoughts?
See, society, they are good. They are. They are. Like I said, we've not been in the ring with Kyle, but I've seen Kyle's abilities, and he is good. He is good. I mean, he's bragging on about this 5-0 record. I mean, he's been in the ring with a few people, but if he wants to keep all of that record, he better stay away from people like me and Tommy Dillon, because he'll not have that record for long.
Yeah, I tell you what, when it comes to yourself, when it comes to your tag team partner, the wild card, Tommy Dillon, it's definitely different versus, let's say, somebody else you're in the ring with. Those are certainly some fair points here. I mean, but again, though, I mean, I think about this tournament, and do you feel, again, management, you've said that you feel like you get along okay with Joshua Snow. I mean,
Yeah.
has he indicated anything to you that would maybe lean one way or another? Or
No. Other than last time I saw and spoke to Joshua Snow was at Summertime Slaughterhouse before and after our match. That was the last time I spoke or had any communication with him.
But that's interesting to me, though, LRB, because I would think, though, because we've heard now for quite a while that we were going to have on August the 13th this 8-person tournament to crown our first ever world-class champion in NSAW history, that you would be speaking with Mr. Snow much more frequently because, correct me if I'm wrong, Summertime Slaughterhouse was about a little over 5 weeks ago now.
Yep, give or take.
I mean, what gives, though? Wouldn't you want to converse with him more?
True, I do see the point. I have felt like messaging him and saying, "Neil, what's going on?" But the way I see it is, it's his place. He runs it. He'll contact who he needs to contact as and when. For me, that's the way I see it. I'm not going to be one of them who is nagging him to see, am I in it? Who's in it? Why aren't I in it? Why ain't he in it? The way I see it, he's the gaffer. He's the boss. I'll await a message or a phone call, either or.
But you're a veteran, though. But you see, you're a veteran in the ring, right? See, now, I get it. And how can I put this? Some of the talent, I think it's fair to say, are what you'd call, as I said with Disciple, new kids on the block, right?
Oh.
You're a veteran, right? You've been in the ring. You have a well-documented resume, right? So in one sense, you're taking a different approach from, let's say, a veteran in the ring, a also multiple-time champion in Disciple, a Rumble winner. You fill in the blanks. Disciple's been in there with big names like you've been. Disciple was with us here a few times, and he's been making the case, basically going to management and saying, listen, and I don't disagree with that at all. I agree fully, because I think veterans like yourself, veterans like Tommy Dillon, veterans like Disciple should be automatically at the top of the list. I mean, so you then don't quite agree with the approach of another veteran in Disciple when I asked him that question, said, yeah, you know what? I absolutely should be in that. Look at who I've knocked off. Look at who I've been in the ring with. So you feel you don't need to do that.
Don't get me wrong, I see his point. I see Disciple's point of that, but I don't agree with doing that. Okay. So, I mean, I don't agree with you. You should be. Disciple shouldn't be telling Joshua Snow he's in it or he should be in it. It's Joshua Snows and the rest of the management to decide. Yes, Disciple has got a heck of a resume, but that does not mean you're automatically put in. Like you said, there's a lot of new kids on the block. Give them their shot.
All right, well, we'll certainly see it, and I want to get in a couple of people here. Colin McGregor, of course, who does a great job in calling things in CCW, and of course, we know our guys here with the Northern Warriors, including, of course, LRB, have been in the ring with the working class militia from CCW, and certainly a lot to get into there when it comes to Slugger Hampton and all the great things that he does, of course, with his tag team partner. So I want to make sure I recognize CCW because we will have more CCW coverage on Sportswire Radio here in the near and distant future because Slugger Hampton is coming back on here to Sportswire Radio Wednesday night. So very, very excited to be with Slugger Hampton. And Shelby Pocock says, LRB, I miss you. So obviously your fans are with us here tonight. So that's always
Shelby,
good,
I miss you too, dear. I'll hopefully see you soon. Shelby, I miss you too. I'll hopefully see you all soon.
Oh, good. Well, we hope to see Shelby on Sportswire Radio. And we hope to see Shelby also when it comes to all great things related to nonstop action wrestling. And I got to ask you then, I mean, obviously, we'll get more into the tournament in a second. We'll get into your tag team partner. But, I mean, what's your impressions of nonstop action wrestling so far?
So far, they're doing a brilliant job. I mean, management are doing a heck of a job. Third show in now, and we've always, 3 shows we've had.
Yeah.
Exordium,
Christmas Carnage, and Summertime Slaughterhouse. Yep.
Always been a packed crowd, always been a lively crowd. So Joshua Snow and the rest of the management are doing really well. If they stick to it, I can really see them going a lot further. Bigger venues, bigger stars coming in possibly. So if they keep it up, I really can see them going quite far.
I definitely think so too. And we have an announcement later on when it comes to management nonstop action wrestling. So I think you might want to tune in and find out what that'll be. So that'll be later on here. I mean, when it comes to, let's say, other companies you've been with or other companies that you've seen here in the UK, I mean, what do you think maybe nonstop action wrestling is doing that makes you feel good about the company's long-term future?
I mean, as soon as you walk in, they go to every wrestler that walks in, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're a ring crew, whether you sweep it floor, you're all treated the same, you're all welcome the same, you all get a thank you, you all praise the same. No matter where you are, who you are, you all treat the same, which is good. Because I am a firm believer in here. No matter where you work, who you are, you should all treat each other the same.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Yeah. I think
that's
it's important.
One thing with NSAW that happens. No one thinks no different to anyone else. When it comes to a show, like you say, whether you're ring crew, lighting crew, MC, referees, you all put the show on. You might do a little bit, but if it weren't for you doing that bit, that show wouldn't have gone on as good as it could have. You know what I mean? So everyone at the wrestling show in NSAW plays a part, and everyone who gets a part, no matter what they're doing, they take it seriously, and it's done properly.
Yeah, I feel like in anything in life, I know in wrestling, because we do a lot of wrestling coverage here on Sportswire Radio, obviously, but I've always felt that in wrestling there has to be some level of respect for everybody because, listen, at the end of the day, right, everybody has to go in the ring, but you have to get there in the ring, right, whether it's setting the ring up or whether it's obviously setting the chairs up or basically going over the match with your opponent, or also watching your other members of the locker room to watch their matches, maybe learn different things, because eventually you'll be in the ring with them too, right? So at the end of the day,
if I can, at any show I've been on, I'll always watch what was on before or after me. One, like you say, because I never know if I ring with them. I can always scout them, stuff like that. And just respectively as well, watching, I like to watch my peers wrestle. Like you say, it's always good for feedback from anyone and everyone.
I would also feel like, why would you want to wrestle and then leave afterwards? I mean, that's kind of like, to me, it's goofy, right? I mean, I would never understand that. Like, okay, so I'm going to wrestle my match, whatever it is, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, and then I'm just going to leave?
Yeah, if you've got a double booking, I understand. But if you aren't, I don't see why you've got to leave unless you have got some on, which, again, different stories for that. But you, like I said, 9 times out of 10, I never leave early. Always get as early as possible, and always usually one at last to leave. That's the way it should be done. That's, for me anyway, that's the way I see it's done.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think anything in life, you have to be able to apply yourself, and you have to be able to show your respect for others, and just common sense. It's just logic. And I want to ask you though, going back in terms of advice and such. I know we spoke a lot about with Tommy, because obviously Tommy's the head trainer here of Nonstop Action Wrestling. I know Disciple helps out a little bit also with the company. But do wrestlers ask you a lot for advice? Because obviously you're another guy. You're a big name. You've obviously had a lot of success. You've won gold. Do you get asked a lot of questions
I've
from?
had a few lads come up and speak to me, yeah, and I'll always try and tell them what I can, and I'll tell them where they've gone wrong and what they can do better. And they've always took the advice. Some have used it, some might not have used it, or used it in a different way. But I'm always open for anyone coming to ask me a question, whether you're new or whether you're older. I'm same. I ask older guys or guys like same level here, what do you think I could have done better there? It's always good to have that communication with people, and take that criticism if you need to take it. There's one thing I've seen a few guys in wrestling is they can't take the criticism. Okay, you did this move, it is good, but doing it that way, it looks crap, and they don't like it because they want to do it that way. I've seen a few guys do it, and I've seen it pay off sometimes for someone, and I've seen it ruin others, where they've just not listened, they've gone, and they've been shown to, because the thing they're doing can be dangerous, and they're not listening to you. Obviously, in this business, you've got to look after each other.
Yeah, and I would think in wrestling that it's really important if a fellow wrestler or a veteran wrestler says, hey, you know what? I saw how you did that suplex, or I saw how you did that backbreaker even, or whatever it might be, a tombstone pile driver, or anything else that you might do that could be dangerous. Because frankly, everything you do in wrestling is dangerous.
Oh, yeah,
if a veteran wrestler is telling you, hey, you might want to try this move differently, or you might want to try something else that might be a little bit easier on yourself and your fellow opponent, I would certainly want to take that advice. And I've got a couple of comments I'd like to get in there. And obviously another friend of ours from CCW, that is Taylor Trutz. And of course, Taylor, want to let you know Slugger Hampton's coming back Wednesday night. And of course, LRB was in the ring with Slugger Hampton not too long ago. So I definitely want to shout you out there, Taylor. I think about 8 o'clock Wednesday, I think we're going to be on with Slugger. So looking forward to speaking with Slugger. And LRB is going to share some war stories, I'm sure, with Slugger in a second. But Taylor, by the way, LRB is admiring your collection of belts. I mean, how'd you get into the whole? I got to ask, because you know what? Because Taylor asked, I was waiting for somebody to bring it up. And I got to ask, I mean, what got you into collecting all these belts other than winning a few? I know you won a few, but the rest of the one you didn't win. How'd you get into collecting all these belts?
Collecting, obviously, watching WWE, always seen these belts, and in the magazine, I always seen them. I always wanted one, or like, right, I just want one. Obviously, when I got my first one, 2008, I got my first belt.
Okay.
2008 is my the spinning.
Yep.
The John Cena spinning WWE title.
I remember it very well. I remember.
It's off camera. It's over in this cabinet over here. That was my very first belt. Bought that direct from the US at the time, and I got that.
It used to be a big shop. I don't know if you remember this. You probably, since you're a belt collector, if you ever used to get the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines, and they used to always be this shop. I think it was in Ohio, if I want to say. They actually made the belts the way they actually really looked. In fact, I don't even know. I think TNA might have used them. I know they had basically WWE like belts. I mean, they were a huge. You would always see them in the PWI magazine. I don't know if you ever read the PWI, but
I think it is that. I'm trying to think who it could have been. I know there's Wrestling Superstore over there.
Yep.
That's one good little place.
Yep.
There's a few over there, but I know Wrestling Superstore is one of the main ones. I ain't ordered from them for a long time. I did a few orders from them, but going back to the belt, 2008, I got my spinner. August 2008.
Wow, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Got it. opened it, amazing. I was like, yeah, I like this. Got it all set up, put it away, had it on display. Just kept looking at it going, I like it. I've got one. Finally got one. The weight of it were real. I was like, yeah, the detail on this is amazing. I was like, okay, I want another one. I want another one. And my second belt was the US.
I remember that one. Yep, I was seeing right here.
From that, and then after that, after getting to it, just spiraled to 3, 4, 5, 6. And like I say, I'm currently up to 29.
Well, that reminds me of and I have a couple of comments which I'll get to in a second. That reminds me of when we were kids. I grew up speaking of New York, in Brooklyn, New York, and my brother and I, we were obviously into wrestling, and who knew I'd be speaking to wrestlers years later, right? But I mean, what we used to do is there was this little, like, what you call a hole in the wall store, and we would just go with whatever allowance we had. We're talking about equivalent to like £5 as an example, and just buy wrestling figures. I remember, I'm pretty sure my mother still has all those wrestling figures that we have. It's in my attic somewhere. I mean, all these figures, and I guess wrestling shirts now seems to be my thing because I have so many wrestling shirts now. But when it comes to the belts, I always wished I could have had more belts. I think my brother had one belt. I think we might have had a replica world title belt, but that's here and there. Let me get to some comments. Taylor Truth says, I slapped the taste from Slugger Hampton's mouth at Cole Not Dole, which is the last CCW show, which I will ask Slugger Hampton that question. So, Taylor, thank you for that. And he also says, who says ring announcers aren't bad? Fill in the blanks. We'll find out on Wednesday. I have a good one there for you. Is there anybody who you'd like to face that could be either single or tag team? That's a good question.
Obviously, going on the tag team side, I feel I really would like to. Me and Tommy spoke about this a bit back. Is work with the working class militia again.
Ooh,
I think I would like to have another shot with them. JPR and his crew, the Swarm. Don't mind going against them. Singles. Again, there's a few on there. Disciple.
Disciple. Wait. Did I just hear Disciple's name?
Yep. I could gladly take on Disciple. I'm not scared of him. He might be a big guy. Might be a big guy, but he doesn't scare me.
So you're not worried about the size? You're not worried about the strength right now? The angry mood he's in right now? So you're not worried about that? I'm
worried about You know Rex Savage. I've been in ring with Rex Savage a few times, and
I'm well aware of that.
I can handle Rex Savage. So
and you've got some wins over Rex Savage too. I know.
Yes. I was one of the first people to beat him in UKW.
I know.
Rex Savage was the person I took the UK title off.
Oh, I'm well aware. of that. So basically, you know what? Fair play.
You can come as big as you are. I'll fight you. Might lose, but I'll fight you. You'll know you've been in the ring.
All right. Well, I mean, I could certainly respect that. And let me throw it out there then, because you know what? You did mention Disciple, right? And obviously, Disciple, last time we saw him in Nonstop Action Wrestling, he did dispose of his longtime nemesis, Rex Savage, the first time he beat him in 5 years. So that's always interesting, right? You wrestle somebody that you haven't seen in 5 years. That's always a little weird. But I mean, wouldn't that be a rather interesting match in the Nonstop Action Wrestling 8-person tournament to crown the company's first world-class champion at Fire and Gold? I mean, realistically, that could even be the main event. I mean, listen, forget about everybody else. I mean, LRB and Disciple could actually be the finals or the main event of Fire and Gold for that company's first championship. I mean, that would make a lot of business sense, no? Don't you think?
I won't mind it. Would not mind it at all, but I don't care who's. If I get to the final, I don't care who's there. I mean, again, me and Tommy have spoke about this again. What if we cross paths? And
we did speak about that.
If we do, you're going to get one heck of a show. If you've watched any of our matches in the past, you're in for a treat.
Oh, I watched the one most recently that I'm sure a lot of people ask you about on YouTube is the one back in 2018. That you guys had for Tommy's championship. You want to talk about that? Was a different Tommy Dillon at a different time, and I guess I can say this, but was that Robert DeCaro refereeing there, if I'm not mistaken?
I believe it was, yes. I believe it was.
Oh, I'm sure he's not going to want me to bring that up, but
No, I think that day we had a ref shortage and he had to step in.
yeah, he looked like he was kind of feeling his way around the ring. I mean, no pun
Yeah.
intended. That was I guess he was doing his best Shawn Michaels imitation as referee. Remember when Shawn Michaels was refereeing all those matches when he was kind of in between his injury and coming back? He would always see him every like 6 months refereeing, and he kind of like do the like
as long as DeCaro weren't coming out in them hot pants, we're all right.
Yeah, well, I don't think Mr. DeCaro is refereeing these days right now, certainly. But I got to ask, because that was a match, obviously, a really, really intense match, and certainly a different Tommy Dillon at that time. But, I mean, do you get asked often about that match? Because it seems like a lot of people to this day still watch that match. It's probably one of the more viewed matches, I think, around.
We do get asked again. I get asked about, you went to war with Tommy and now you tag team with him? Yeah. And he, like I said in his interview last time, he was looking for help, and I know what he can do. He know what I can do. We put his differences to the side and thought, we're both brilliant single competitors. So if we put all the stuff in the past behind us, we can do some out of this. And like you say, we're a changed man. They've come back with a different attitude, and it was an attitude I liked. But yes, I do get asked a heck of a lot about that match, and it is one of my favourite matches I've ever had.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that part into also why you said, hey, all right, I want to do this with you, Tommy, because we did have a great match.
Like that, we know we looking at that match, we absolutely kick the living hell out of each other. If we can do that, if we can do that 1-on-1, what can we do as a tag team? So that's what we're looking forward to now. I mean, a couple of tag team matches we've won against Society and Working Class Militia. So 2 wins as a tag team. I think it's doing well. It's not too brilliant yet because it's still early days, but we're determined to see how far we can go.
I'll tell you what. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we are definitely determined to see that journey and to go on that journey with our guest here tonight. That is pro wrestling star here, LRB. And if you like what you hear from LRB, I highly encourage you give him a follow, like his page on Facebook at official.RB. Make sure it's official.RB, LRB. Make sure you follow him because he is somebody, if you like those belts, he's actually won a few of them. He's the first ever 2-time UKW Academy champion. He's also a former UKW TV champion and very well could be on August the 13th. If he's a participant in that 8-person tournament to crown the company's first ever world-class champion, very well could be the next NSAW world champion, undisputed here. He could very well be that, so definitely an honor to have him here on the Sports Report and on Sportswire Radio. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. If you like what you hear from us on Facebook, please give us a like at Sportswire Radio, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/play, which we're now joined in by. So I want to thank everybody over there that has plugged us back in here with pro wrestling star here, LRB. So LRB, I'll come back to Nonstop Action Wrestling in a few minutes. I'll come back to UKW, but I always like to ask this question because I asked the same question to Tommy. And what got you into becoming a professional wrestler?
Obviously watching it on TV for years.
Duh.
I was like, right, I want to try it. Obviously doing as you did as kids. Assuming you see you've got a brother. I mean, my younger brother, we used to, whether it was garden, living room, we're always wrestling.
Yeah, I tried on the cement as a kid, which was a bad idea in the streets of Brooklyn. That was a bad idea.
We did it, parks, trampolines, gardens, wherever we could, we'd wrestle. And a lot, before we seriously do it each other, my brother weren't really bothered, but I thought, I want to get into it. So as it happened, up the street from where I live is there were a ex World of Sports star from back in the early days. World of Sports star Bob Blondie Barrett.
Okay.
And he literally lived up the road, and I got told he ran a wrestling school. So I went up, spoke to him. He went, yeah, it's here. Come down. And that, again, it's literally a few minutes away from me, literally 10, 15 minutes down the road where his school were. Went there, started training, got the feel for it, and just loved it ever since. And then carried on, win as many times as I could. Went to UKW, obviously NSAW. But obviously, as I got older, obviously working, as my child got older, training got a bit more difficult. And
I can
even
imagine.
now,
I can imagine.
even trying to get training now is still difficult, which I hate. I absolutely hate not being able to train, which because I think it has a knock-on effect. Always trying to get on booked on shows and try and get yourself out there. It is quite hard at the minute with work, but obviously work comes first, unfortunately.
Yeah, trust me. No, listen. I could certainly sympathize and imagine that. I mean, is obviously somebody's doing this 3.5 years, the sacrifice of time that you put in, and you have to be able to juggle those different things. And I also feel like in some ways, and again, side point here from NSAW and UKW, I don't think that people really realize the almost sacrifice that you guys put in as wrestlers in the fact of the time all of your free time that you can find is really dedicated to being out there in a show and the travel. I mean, talk about that and what that means to you and kind of being able to juggle a home life and also, keep your
It's
career
hard.
going.
I mean, like work-wise, I can work 40 plus hours a week. I do night shifts, so that's hard enough in itself. Trying to juggle night shift work and daily life, as well as
I know the
chucking,
feeling. I work overnight. I completely know the feeling.
so chucking again, trying to chuck wrestling in there as well. Only having 2 days off again, so my free time and my days off are my jobs I do during the week. So trying to juggle them in and wrestling, and then obviously, like I said, when it comes to wrestling, and I do get on a show, and the travel is, I love the traveling part. Like I said, usually everything's local. The NSAW, not too far away, 45 minutes, if
So
that.
you're not doing what the say Disciples done, where 4 or 5 hour drives, or guys
No,
I know like RPD or Rick
I've not
Marcus.
had. I think the longest one I've done is an hour and a half car ride.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. I've not had the big car ride yet, which I'd love to, because even sometimes on the car rides, when we've had short car rides, depending on who you're in the car with, you can have some laughs. Some of our car journeys we've had before, it is so much fun. So the travelling it can be fun when you've got the time for it. And you can make it fun. It's not just a dull, boring ride. You just got to make it what you can make it.
Well, if it makes you feel good, or if it makes you feel any better, I was on kind of one of those rides where those kind of long rides with some laughs. I'm in New York City, obviously, and I was supposed to meet some of the Sportswire radio team on Long Island. And I actually got lost on my way to going there because I didn't. My friend, I should actually single him out, Anthony Finkel, who actually listens to some of our wrestling shows here on Sportswire Radio, and I'm probably going to embarrass him, but he actually drove. We were like one exit away from our destination. He veered off and went the wrong way, and we took like another hour. Yeah, it took us actually almost 3 hours, which should have been an hour and a half ride at best. It took us 3 hours, and getting back took me another 2.5 hours to get home. So that was one of those long ride stories where you have those war stories and those moments. You remember that ride for years and years and years and years to come. But I'm glad, though, you don't have to do too many of those, because obviously, as much as I love UK wrestling, that would be a lot to do. A 3-4 hour ride, considering everything in the companies itself. But I do want to ask you, I mean, are there any other companies that you might want to wrestle and be a part of in the near and distant future?
GT Ministries.
Interesting you bring them up, because apparently it's my understanding that July 16th, as I'm sure you're aware of, there is a 30-person rumble there to crown the number one contender to Jack Johnson's championship over there at the Fountains Church in Bradford. And it is well of my understanding that many colleagues of yours are going to be in that, including the likes of Connor Cage, Supersonic, Sammy Blue, Disciple's going to be a part of that. Goliath, who has a match also along with Disciple. Slugger Hampton, who you were in the ring with. Obviously, your tag team partner, Wildcard Tommy Dillon's a huge part of things in GT Ministries. I mean, many of your colleagues are a huge part of that Net Rumble. And I got to ask, I mean, what about you?
Gareth Angel, you know where I am. You know where. Drop me a message, give me a phone call.
Does he have your number?
He has my number, or he has me on Facebook. He has one of the two.
Oh, he does. Okay. All right. So he does have your Facebook.
He has got me somewhere, or if not, he knows I'm easy to reach. If you've got a spare space, I think I'm free on that Saturday.
So you are free on the 16th? Just want to make sure.
I think I am free. I am free on the 16th. Sure I am.
Well, at least you're not taking the approach. Well, Disciple's approach was, well, I'm going to be there in the building. And then I think Mr. Angel kind of relented and said, okay, well, I think maybe we should bring him in here because he might just interject himself in the Rumble. But you are free, and I would have to think you might have a pretty good reference in your tag team partner, Tommy Dillon. You think maybe he could vouch for you?
Oh, Tommy would definitely vouch for me. Again, that could be a spot where you have to see, he could see it's me and Tommy at last too. Again, he'll be in for a treat.
And that would mean a lot to you, obviously, to be in that Rumble, because obviously getting a crack at a title and certainly a champion right now in Jack Johnson, who's on quite a run, because look at the last time I saw him in the ring in GT Ministries to what he did to somebody you know very well, and the current UKW champion, that's Mr. Mustafa Khan.
Oh, yes. I didn't see it. I read about that.
You know what? I was expecting that to be really where Jack Johnson was just going to crawl out of there like he did against Bentley. But, I mean, he disposed of him. I mean, I got to say, Jack Johnson I watched the match live because you can watch all GT Ministries live on their Facebook page.
I think when it were on, I were working that night, so I didn't manage to get to see it, but I read about it after, and I were surprised.
Well, I was, listen, like I said, I watched Jack Johnson take the title from Mr. Angel. I saw him against Bentley, where Sean Only really was the reason why Bentley's not the world champion. But, I mean, he made short work of Mustafa Khan. I was surprised. I'd be honest with you. I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. So, I mean, you getting a crack at that title, being in that Rumble, I think would also be a pretty big deal for your career and maybe put you on another level there, I think.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, that's the, like I say, I want to try and get back and climb that ladder, get into more promotions, get in more in ring time as much as I can, because I don't want to lose that love for it like I nearly did a few years back. I mean, I want to keep going.
Walk me through what you just said, because I know that obviously for a lot of wrestlers, including yourself, there was a long break in between being in the ring and getting back in the ring. I mean, walk me through what that was like for you in that over a year where there was nothing. You couldn't do anything. I mean, for you, I know you spoke about it. It's well documented, of course, on your Facebook page, Official LRB. That's official L.RB to get more information on everything you do. But, I mean, walk me through, how did you get through it?
Oh, it's just it was horrible. I mean, when you were so used to something and then it just stops. Look, don't get me wrong, they weren't just me, but they weren't just people in terms of wrestling. It were everyone. Obviously, during the pandemic, everything stopped. As we know, the world stopped, and it were hard. I mean, there were physically no way you could still train. There were nothing you could really do. I mean, I remember going bike. Obviously, I still worked out and exercised what I could, but in terms of wrestling aspect, there weren't much I could really do, because for one, I didn't have no one to train with. I mean, you can't train with yourself. You can't practice moves with yourself. But I obviously saw that were hard. And I mean, going back to the first training session after the pandemic, I remember taking my first bump, and it was pretty much like taking my first bump I ever did when I first started. And you were like, oof, God, that's going to hurt in the morning. So I remember that. And I remember well, no, it weren't a funny story, because when I went back, we were at UKW, the first training session back, and when I did that, I dislocated my shoulder.
Oh,
On my first training,
wrestling. That's a tough injury. That's a very tough
I
injury.
dislocated my shoulder on my first training session bike. Yeah, and then obviously, so that put me out for a bit longer. Obviously, managed to get back heel up, and that were a simple mistake of my own. I just went to go for a roll. This time I stepped, and all my weight landed on my shoulder. So that were a fun story.
And at this level, it's not like WWE where they say, okay, well, we'll just take care of you and we'll take care of your surgery or take care of your injury. Don't worry about it. At this level, if you get injured, you're almost out of luck.
On your own, like I said, obviously got injured. To be honest, it was the car ride home. I were in with Rex Savage. He were dropping me off, going back home. So I was struggling to get my seatbelt on. He's like, "Yeah, mate, you have to go to the hospital." I'm like, "No, I'll be all right. I'll be all right." I'm one of them. I could have my head in my hands. I'm not good at hospital. I'm not good at doctors. I don't like wasting the time. I hate it. So I got home.
That's how I feel. You know, the old adage is when they say that you have to go to the doctor, it's almost like the next step is like the deathbed.
Yeah, it's not just
that. Was always how I live by. My father was like that, unfortunately. He was like, I'm not going to the doctor. I think he went like 30 plus years without going to the doctor. That's why he's dead. I mean, so, hey, maybe that's why.
I'll say, especially with our A&E, I don't know how yours work in terms of waiting times. I mean,
I'll be honest. I would rather be dead than go to an ER room in New York.
Same as ours.
Don't feel too bad. Yeah, don't feel bad.
You can go in and you can be waiting 3, 4, 5 hours just to get seen.
I
ain't got time for that. I don't want to sit there and waste time. But yeah, anyway, I come home. I end up getting home, aching, ice packed it, heat packed it, all that. The worst thing is that morning when I got up, I had a funeral to go to. So that was fun. Obviously, no one knew I'd done out. I didn't tell no one I'd injured myself except a select few. Obviously, the person who funeral it were, her family wouldn't have let me go if I told them what I'd done. So I'm there, holding my arm during this funeral like this, absolutely aching. Trying to cover up the pain. And obviously, as you know, at funerals, you shake hands, you give everyone a hug. And again, that was fun.
Did you try like the Paul Orndorff trick? Because I'm sure you know of Paul Orndorff. He was in a feud with Hulk Hogan. He actually refused to get the surgery, I believe, on his shoulder. And he wound up going so long without the surgery that he actually lost almost like his movements in his shoulder. He wound up like his shoulder shrunk. I mean, you kind of were going the Paul Orndorff route there.
It was just, well, I had in my head, I'm like, right, I will go to A&E after I've been to the funeral. But obviously, during the funeral, trying to check out, obviously, I was right-handed, so my right shoulder I did, so that was worse. So my God. So I'm like this, I'm like, oh, hello. Managed to get home, get changed again. Even getting changed was painful because I could not move it from up here.
Oh my God!
Obviously, went to A&E 3-4 hours over there. Oh yeah, you dislocated your shoulder. Popped up. Oh, Jesus, all bruising on my chest there. Not as bad as what Cody's got, but it were quite bruised. But yeah, that were about another 4 weeks.
How long did you feel that way after that?
The main pain for about a week and a half.
Okay.
And I got a bit more movement.
All right.
All in all, it was about 6-7 weeks before.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I would have figured. Yeah, about 6 weeks would have made sense. Yeah. That would have made sense.
6-7 weeks before I actually got full movement back in. I had to go to a few physiotherapy things. But other than that, it was good. Like I said, I just couldn't believe it. A year off, go back in, first training session injured. I mean, I couldn't. Some of my friends I told, they were just laughing at me. They're like, "Here, how can you do that? How can you literally go straight back in?"
If it makes you feel better, and I have a couple of comments I'll get to in a second, but if it makes you feel better, at least you didn't pull the Kevin Nash. Because obviously in wrestling, it's always when somebody comes back, they say, "Oh, I pulled the Kevin Nash," because I'm sure you're aware, famously, Kevin Nash hadn't wrestled, I think it was about 3.5 months in WWE, and he comes back in a 10-man tag, and the first minute he comes in there, he tore his leg, and he's out for almost, it tears his quad, and it's 9 months.
Done it a few times. It's not fake.
No.
I've never known someone tear their quad so many times as Kevin Nash.
Well, that's probably why Kevin Nash is where he is right now, not wrestling, and that's why LRB is wrestling. But let me get to some comments right now, and I have a good one from Shelby once again, which is wrong one. That's my shoulder acting up there a bit. Who knows, right? When will you come back our way?
Hopefully, as soon as I can. I mean, trying to juggle work, wrestling, it is hard. I'm still trying to figure parts out, obviously, because my weekends, obviously, again, working nights, I only get to see my little boy a few hours a day. So obviously, the weekends are like for him and whatever other jobs. But I'm trying to get back to UKW as much as I can, Shelby. Don't you worry.
And we want to see you there in UKW, no question about that. But UKW may have to pay a little more. Well, I mean, I'll just pretend we never said that, but it was all in good fun. But I have a nice comment in here. LRB is one of the good guys in wrestling. Have a lot of time for him. That's a nice comment there.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate the kind words there because we kind of get a sense that LRB. And we have another comment. Shelby also says LRB is one of the nicest guys in pro wrestling. Yeah, you definitely seem like, it's funny. I watch you in the ring, right? I've watched your matches in UKW, and then I see you here. You almost remind me like an RPD. You see them in the ring, and they're like, RPD's like really aggressive. He's this boxing champion. Then you speak with him, and it's like, well, he's got a little daughter, he's got a wife, and he's like a really easygoing guy. And it's you. It's like, I would never know that you're this guy that had all these championships and had these legendary feuds. I mean, Shelby's onto something. Are you like the Clark Kent of pro wrestling here, where all of a sudden you turn into Superman, but then outside the ring you're kind of like Clark Kent? What's going on here, champ?
When it comes into a match, as soon as I'm stood behind that curtain, ready to go out, mind changes. It's fight mode. That's my way. It's just going for a match, fight mode. Fight mode comes on. And that's why you see that difference. As soon as the match is over and done with, I'm back behind that curtain. I'm back to my normal self.
And Shelby also says, LRB, you need to come back and wrestle Jepson. That would be so good.
Yes, that'd be another match. I've wrestled Jepson before. Again, another guy. I took the UKW TV title off Jepson.
Mm-hmm.
That were a good match, and I've had a few matches with him since, and I'd definitely like to wrestle him again.
Let me ask you this question, because obviously Shelby's here, and obviously I do want to talk about UKW for a little bit before I come back into nonstop action wrestling plus an announcement. But what did it mean to you to be the first two-time UKW Academy champion?
Absolutely astonished. It meant so much. The thing is, I'd not been with the company that long. But my second match with UKW, I won the UKW Academy title. And then obviously a year or so later is when I become a two-time champion. And I'm like, I've done so much in so little time. It did mean a lot. It really did mean a lot for them to trust me with stuff like that. And again, everyone backstage, the words they give me were nearly swift. I don't know how to say it without like making me sound weak.
Well, don't cry on us here. You do realize that somebody's going to watch and say, "Hey, LRB got a little soft here right now," so don't cry on us.
When I got the again, there's another story to that match I had with Tommy when I become a two-time champion. Again, the match in general, amazing. Becoming the first two-time Academy champion, amazing. Shelby knows this, and a few of the other people know this at UKW. That match, I had my family there. My mum, my sister, nephew, niece, son. That match was the last match my sister saw me wrestle. As we wrestled on the Saturday there, she passed away the following Wednesday.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. That match as well, it means a lot more than just me and Tommy, more than just the title. And that's why the black band you see me wear.
Yep.
That's what that represents. But yeah, that All in General is one of my overall matches for a lot of reasons. Again, like I say, it's just if I could only, again, I've been in ring with some guys, and I'd like to say I've got a 1, 2, but the Academy title match with Tommy is my number one overall match by far, and I don't think I'll ever beat it. Just with everything what's there, every aspect of that night. I think it'd take a lot to beat it.
Let me ask you this question, and I got a couple comments. I'll come back into them, but talking about your sister, and obviously it's well documented about Tommy and his first wife. I mean, do you feel in some ways maybe you guys also bond because of those tough losses you guys have had outside the ring?
Yeah, again, we spoke obviously when I lost my sister. Tommy, along with a lot of other people, would have come into me and speak. So again, obviously, me and Tommy spoke about, again, like I said, both losing someone so close, and how it's hard, and how you're trying to cope. No two people cope the same way. We lost, we grieve. You just have to try and help. And Tommy was one of a lot of people that were always there for me at that time, and I can't appreciate that enough. And he knows that till this day.
Well, certainly, obviously, I am a reverend, so I certainly will continue to have your family and his family's prayers in my thoughts. So we will certainly maybe go back to more wrestling here, because I don't want to spend too much time on these circumstances, because we want to go back to a lot lighter note here. And Shelby says you deserved it in being a 2-time Academy champion. You're an absolute locker room leader. Fill in the blanks who that may or may not be. I'm not going to say who that may or may not be, but you can kind of tie in between. But this is a good one here. What would you say makes the local or UK wrestling scene so different to anywhere else? That's a great question. Let's go with that.
Good. There's, for me, the wrestling as an whole at the minute is absolutely booming.
Oh, it's incredible.
Whether it's in the States, whether it's over here, whether it's Japan, Australia,
I think it's better than it was in the Attitude Era. I think it's actually now. I think it's more healthier, believe it or not.
Yeah, wrestling is popping everywhere, but the British scene for me is the number one. I mean, the style and talent you've got over here, and it's not just that for me. I've said it for years now. The UK fan base makes a show a lot better. You look anytime WWE come over to the UK and they do the tapings for Raw and SmackDown, the fans just absolutely hijack the show. And that's one of the things I love about the UK scene. The fans will they'll tell you how it is. They'll not care who they feel. I mean, they'll tell you what you think. They'll not hide, oh, we can't say this because it's a good guy, or we can't. Again, UK, they cheer the bad guy and boo the good guy. That's what I like. Especially, it happens a lot, and that's why I like the UK scene. The UK scene, talent, fans, everything, just miles better than anywhere at the minute.
Oh, absolutely. I got to be honest, and I say this all the time, and I hope I'm not going to get my United States citizenship revoked here, but the scene here in the UK for professional wrestling, I get asked this all the time. I think it's the best all around, not just because we have you and so many other people from the UK come on, but I mean, watching these matches, whether it's on YouTube or whatever footage I can get from different wrestlers, I'm so amazed at just the overall enthusiasm. I'm so amazed in terms of just the fandom and just overall knowledge of professional wrestling. And even these companies, whether it's like GT Ministries or the LWF or KOW or the BWR or Odyssey Pro Wrestling, or of course NSAW or CCW, because I mean, there's really, to me, where wrestling lives, these territories, whether it's in Sheffield, whether it's in Morecambe, whether it's in Chorley or Barrow or Bradford, Yorkshire, all around the world here. So that's what I wanted to commend all of the UK wrestling fans, and that's why I love the UK wrestling scene. And of course, your tag team partner, I got to bring your tag team partner in there because your tag team partner would like to say something. As much as the Northern Warriors are on fire at the moment, I still look forward to us having a great match again. Get some more gold between us. And yeah, that match meant so much to me as well, and always will. your tag team partner, Tommy Dillon, who was on here a few weeks ago. And, of course, I'm wearing
Thank
his
you,
shirt.
brother.
I gave him a nice little plug. You can follow him at Wildcard Tommy Dillon on all his socials. What does that comment mean to you there?
It means a lot. Like I said, Tommy as a guy is that comment says everything you need to know about him. He's just an absolute diamond of a guy. He's a guy I do look up to a heck of a lot. He really is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. It meant a lot.
Well, don't choke up on us, please. we got to go talk about other things. Listen, I'm going to go push the conversation in a different way then, because I really do. Listen, I do interviews all the time from different walks of life, and I always tell people, don't cry on me. You are live, so please. You are a wrestler. You are trying to stake your place here for gold. So please do not choke up. So let's come back then to the working class militia, because I want to go back and speak of the working class militia. Slugger's coming back on here. Talk about that slugfest that you and your tag team partner, Tommy Dillon, had against the working class militia at Summertime Slaughterhouse at the end of May.
See, that obviously at first we weren't scheduled to verse them.
I'm well aware of that.
Due to an injury of my dad, they had to be replaced. So we found out a few days before. I got a phone call from Tommy. Told me, well, okay, right, let's see what they've got. I'd seen them around, I'd heard them around. I've never really looked. Obviously, we only just started a tag team. I'd not really had time to work any tag team that we might or may come across. So straight away, I started doing a bit of homework. Seeing them, spoke with Tommy. Like, yeah, right. I've noticed this, that, and other about them. They are going to be a tough test, which they were. They really were. Slugger is one. His name. His name's there. I mean, he can slug. I can slug with veteran, but he can throw some hands. But no, they come in. They tried taking over. Unfortunately, they didn't. They even got a bit of a beating by a few kids in the crowd that day. Me and Tommy got them both outside the ring, and a few of the young fans in the crowd gives a little hand, which I don't think they were too happy about that.
Well, obviously, right? Yeah, I would think so, right?
Again, that's going back to UK fans where they don't care. They'll just, if they can participate, they'll participate, which the 4 kids we had.
I noticed that, by the way, at NSAW shows, whether it's the Lawman Kyle Kennedy or whether it's certainly when it came to the working class militia, the fans will get into it if they feel it's necessary.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, we got them outside. We asked a few kids for a little hand, and ask when Slugger comes on, ask him how his chest feels.
Wednesday night. I'll make sure to ask him about this. I'll see what kind of mood he's in. I'll ask
him if his chest is still hurting from them chops from the young fans.
All right. Well, certainly, I will definitely ask him about that. And I have to ask you very quickly when it comes to the working class militia. Obviously, they're a huge part of things in CCW, and saw them also in GT Ministries. They defended those championships there against the Academy of Agony, who certainly we know them obviously from here in NSAW under different names and such, and also, of course, as the educators in GT Ministries, and then obviously the modern day mafia over there. I mean, do you like to see companies that work together and maybe have showcasing talent from different companies?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's something that should happen more often?
It should happen more often. Yeah. I don't see why not. Why I talent on each roster to each promoter or each show. If you can spread them out as much as you can, it's ideal it works in favour of both the wrestler and the promoter. For me, it's a win-win situation. I don't see why people don't do it. I don't see why a lot of bigger companies don't do it. I mean, if you've got the talent there to spread out.
And I feel like also, if wrestlers can draw tickets, especially at this level in social media, because I mean, I speak with guys like Bentley is an example. Bentley comes up, and he's a guy that's been around in the Forbidden Door a little bit, and even different people like a Gareth Angel who's been involved with different companies and had GT Ministries work with different companies. I think it's a no-brainer because I think it gets both companies who take part in that to kind of get their names out there a little bit. And UKW does a lot of work, obviously, with GT Ministries. They're a huge example of that. I kind of feel like it gets the conversation going. It gets the dialogue going to me. So I kind of feel like to operate as if like certain companies don't exist, I don't really think it does anything to the detriment of your company.
If companies can work together because it'll work out for both you. And it's like you say, you're just swapping talent around. If you can, okay, I want to borrow him for this show. All right, can I borrow him? Boom, we can do. You can work more storylines. You can get, like I say, you might just have fans. You might have fans who've never heard of a company until you bring this guy in.
And I feel like that's the way it was done until Vince McMahon Jr. took over things. And that was the way it was done with Vince McMahon Sr. or Nick Bockwinkel or obviously the Crockett's, all these different companies. I mean, obviously Stu Hart and Stampede Wrestling, or even, all different types of wrestlers around the world. That's kind of how it was done, is that wrestlers and territories, they wrestled. I mean, Ric Flair wrestled Bob Backlund for the NWA World Championship and conversely for the WWF Championship way back in the day. I mean, to me, I just think it's a no-brainer, whether it's NSAW, UKW, GT Ministries, or Bolton Town to an extent, BTW. I kind of feel like that these particular companies kind of get it. Whereas I really think, to me, if you're not doing it, I think you should. I just think, to me, it's a no-brainer.
If you can work, no matter how small you are as a company or a promoter, if you can reach out and work with another promoter, it's going to be good for business because you're both going to gain from it.
Absolutely.
You really
Absolutely. Are. You first of all, you're going to gain social media followers because the wrestler is going to share your platform. Yeah. You're going to also gain tickets, recognition. You're going to gain that opportunity for the wrestler of your company to be able to wrestle somebody to help them for their resume, for when they want to go out and wrestle different shows for different companies, because promoters are going to see certain names. They're going to know certain names. So again, I think that James Barris is doing a great job with this. I think that Joshua Snow's doing a great job with this. I think certainly Mr. Angel's doing a great job with this. I think obviously Lucas Jackson over at BTW, those promoters, they get it. Those promoters, and I've been saying this for about 4 or 5 months, I think it's a no-brainer. And speaking of management, I do want to break it here while I have a chance that we are going to speak with somebody else in management here related to Nonstop Action Wrestling upcoming next week on Sportswire Radio. And I'm excited about this one here because while we have heard from Mr. Snow, and also we will bring Mr. Snow back Tuesday night for the contract signing with the aforementioned Golden Boy, Connor Cage, who everybody I feel like is certainly in his mouth of words here. And the Lawman Kyle Kennedy is back once again on Sportswire Radio. But coming up here, July the 11th, 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time, we will have on Richard Knight. And certainly Mr. Knight will have a lot to say when it comes to LRB, and certainly Tommy Dillon and Disciple and the rest of the roster here in NSAW. And I am looking forward to speaking with Mr. Knight, obviously, about LRB in his case, but also apparently we have a big announcement next Monday related to NSAW. So I'm looking forward to that announcement. I'm looking forward to speaking with Mr. Knight. It's going to be, I think the entire locker room is going to have to tune into this one because apparently it's supposed to be a really, really big deal with that. So I'm excited. And of course, if you like what you hear from Nonstop Action Wrestling, I want you to give Nonstop Action Wrestling a follow at NSAW Official on Instagram. Also like their YouTube page where you can watch Christmas Carnage and stuff from LRB, and also you can follow them on Facebook right now. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to thank, obviously, Nonstop Action Wrestling for their support of Sportswire Radio and all the great things that we do. And we're here for about 20 or so minutes here with pro wrestling star LRB. And LRB, obviously, his resume is as good as anybody's we're going to have here on Sportswire Radio. The first ever 2-time UKW Academy champion. He's also a former UKW television champion, and very well possibly could be, if he's in that tournament on August the 13th, the first ever NSAW world-class champion. We are looking forward to seeing that if that happens. I think LRB's got a great case. He certainly made his case in a different way. Unlike, let's say, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy or a Disciple, he's basically said, you know what, management? I've got a resume. I've got a record. You've seen me win here. I've got a couple of big wins with my tag team partner, Tommy Dillon. I've got the respect of the locker room. If you want to pick me, great. If not, we'll see what happens. So obviously LRB's made his case in a different way, but I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. I got to ask you then about the society, because obviously we spoke about the working class militia. We know that Slugger will give his side of things, but you guys have definitely had your differences with them in NSAW, and talk about the success that you guys have had against them here so far.
Well, yeah, like I said, the one match we had, again, the society thinking they were bigger than what they are. They were thinking they'd been, okay, they were mine and Tommy's first tag team match against them and with each other. So that were a bit of a test. And they went off like they'd been doing it for years and whatnot. And like they'd teamed for years and won championships. But me and Tommy had been a tag team for 5 minutes, and we disposed of them quite easy. And even they had the extra man on the outside, trying to provide distractions, but that didn't work for them. In end, it was the low man's fault they lost. Well, so they were saying. It weren't the low man's fault. It was the other two's fault who couldn't beat me and Tommy. You know, I mean, they were in the ring. They were doing their work. They didn't work hard enough. That's the reason they lost. Not because Kyle hit the car with a title. Just not as good as they thought they were.
Well, I mean, obviously, you and the wild card Tommy Dillon are veterans, and you've got to have almost a perfect day to be able to beat you guys because of obviously your experience, your resumes. So certainly then, I guess then you're not too impressed then with the society and NSAW then.
Oh, no, they walk around like they own the joint. I mean, they kind of them, you see it on movies. They think they're like them high school jocks who everything should begin to them and no one can tell them what to do.
They're bullies. When they get bullied back, they kind of cower almost.
I mean, and that's one thing me and Tommy like to stand up for, people being bullied. I don't like people being bullied. Don't like seeing people getting bullied, and I'll stand up for anyone.
So you'd like to see then even somebody like a Champ Rogers even the score with the Lawman College?
Oh, yeah. And I'll put it out there now. If Champ Rogers needs an hand, get rid of society. Me and Tommy will back you up. It's a 6-man tag team. I don't mind doing a 6-man tag.
Oh, I think we heard something there. Very, very, very interesting there on Sportswire Radio. Oh, my. How the tables have potentially turned here on Sportswire Radio. And in fact, could we see in the near and distant future LRB, Tommy Dillon, and Champ Rogers against the society? As Chris Berman used to famously say on ESPN, could they be rumbling, bumbling, stumbling here in NSAW? Because something tells me here that even, I don't know, maybe a Remus Kane might be commenting on that in the near and distant future. Something tells me that Mr. Kane...
With the society, every time Kyle's been on, they're all of them are popping up talking. It's funny our army are now calling shots and not one of them have popped up.
So basically, like you said, they're bullies and they don't want to basically be bullied around.
No. Someone steps up to them, they go away.
So Connor Cage, Supersonic Sammy Blue, they have no problem confronting here live on Facebook. But when it comes to, let's say,
they're the nice guys. They'll come out and chat. They're nice guys. They're not walking around the locker room thinking they're the big I am, thinking they owe everything.
Well, Disciple, they certainly didn't bully Disciple because Disciple, you ain't bullying Disciple around. Disciple
again, because they know the Disciple will bully them back, and they'll.
That's true.
The people they have been bullying.
They might be eye to eye with him on a little bit of things. Also, there might be some of that, but certainly when it comes to Supersonic Sammy Blue and Connor Cage, or even a young Horace, I mean, they definitely found their way around the stream tonight.
Oh yeah, see, they are some of the nicest guys you'll meet. Young Horace is another guy I'd like to step in the ring with soon.
Young Horace is a guy. I mean, you got to give him credit because I think in some ways it's admirable about the fact I know the streak is certainly not the streak that the lawman Kyle Kennedy has, but when it comes to a guy like young Horace, he's still out there trying. I mean, you know what?
Yeah, he
There's an
tries,
old
and
adage in sports: if you're out there competing and you're good enough to be out there, you're actually better than what your record is. And I think that that's what young Horace is.
whether young Horace is training or he's actually a match, he's 110% on everything he does, and I can see him going far. I really can. He just needs to stick to his guns, keep doing what he's doing, and he'll be a name you'll be listening for. You'll be hearing for a long time.
I got a very good feeling about that, and I have a very good feeling that young Horace will be back on here. I want to ask you, though, this question. Let's say, hypothetically, that you are in the 8-person tournament at Fire and Gold to crown the NSAW World Class Champion. And I know that you've held gold before, so I know it might be a different feel. But what would it mean to you to be NSAW's first ever World Class Champion?
Everyone's already said it means the world to me. Like I said, you can only be one first. You can only be the one first, no matter. NSAW goes for another 100 years, let's say. No matter what, whoever's champion at whatever time, there'll always be a reference to the first champion. We know now all the time with first IC champion, first European champions. When you hear about titles online in obviously the big companies, you always know the first person to hold that title.
Pat Patterson, the British Bulldog.
You know what I mean? So you always know. And like I said, Pat Patterson, British Bulldog, some of the biggest names in wrestling you're going to know.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
especially here in the UK, especially the British Bulldog.
Yeah, the Bulldog being in the UK, obviously, big fan. Absolutely love Bulldog, obviously. Would have loved to have met him. Never got that chance.
I actually used to be a huge fan of the British Bulldog. Here's the reason why. I don't know if you remember playing it, but there used to be a game, WWF Warzone, and in Warzone, which was for Nintendo 64 at the time.
Yes, 64, yeah.
Yeah, I'm dating myself, but I used to love playing with the British Bulldog. He was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I remember that game. I think I had it, or a friend had it.
Yeah.
I think I had it, or my friend had it. I know I had N64, and I can't remember if I had that game or my friend did, or we both had it. It was one week I had it, one
some
week
of the locker room right now just heard this reference and goes, wow, the Rev is really old for Senate. So I'm actually not old. It's just I remember as a little kid having this game, and what was so cool, this was the days when in order to actually win video games and kind of cheat your way into video games, you would get like the big video game booklets, and Warzone, there was a huge booklet for it. So I remember actually looking at the booklet and just kind of studying it, how to actually win these matches.
Back in the day when you could do that, I don't think you can do them in many games nowadays. I don't think.
Well, you don't need to now. You just buy downloadable content. It's easy.
Yeah.
I have my Xbox One. If I'm in trouble, I just buy something. In those days, you had to buy like a $30 booklet and go read it page by page. Well, how did I do this move? How did I do that move?
Or that nowadays, it's straight onto Google and find that.
Yeah.
Technology's changed so much.
No, it's a whole different world. I still remember being a kid, and speaking of New York again, being a kid growing up in Brooklyn and also never having an internet. The only way I could communicate with people is I would almost have to say, hey, meet me at 4:00 in the afternoon the next day. And you would get there because, there was no cell phones. There was no internet. There was no nothing. So I remember being a little kid just hoping and praying that if I was going to hang out and meet a friend or whatever it was, that if I got there at 4:00, they would be there at 4:00.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't meet them.
I would say when I was younger with my friends, like I said, unless they lived on the same street, then you went and knocked on door. Like, again, it's summertime now, like, it's how the world, again, this is how the world's changed. Like, summer holidays are coming up, and like when we were kids, in summer holidays, we'd disappear all day.
That was me, man. That was me. Yeah. I would say from about 10:00 in the morning till just about dark. That was it.
Yeah, same with us. Because you could go out and you didn't have to worry about anything.
No, not in those days.
We'd organise it all night before, right? We'll knock on your door. Obviously, you live a bit further away, so you'll meet us here. Like I said, meet at 10:00 under this lamppost or at this street corner. And then we'd all bring stuff, money, obviously food. and go on. You just go.
Well, I didn't
You know,
have that luxury, but I know I was outside.
yeah. But either way, even sometimes we'd gone out with no money or no food, and we'd just gone out for a day and just enjoyed it.
That was
And like
it. You know what? There was no cares in the world. There was no listen. That's how it was. But
we did that. I'm like, nah, obviously, my lad's coming up to me now. Dad, can I go there with my friend? Can we go to this place with my friend? And I'm like, well, no, because I don't. Not that I don't trust him. It's I don't trust society now. Do you know what I mean?
No. Listen.
That's what it is. And it's hard. It's hard to try and he knows. He doesn't really knows. Like, right, if you want to go somewhere, I'll take you. I'll go with you. Or yes, you can, but make sure you got your phone. Or make sure you don't go down these areas. Like years ago, you didn't have that problem.
No, it's a different world. Now it's a completely different world and a number of different reasons. And not to say, it's funny. I remember even as being a little kid, we'll come back to wrestling here for the next 10 or so minutes and speak with obviously Pro Wrestling Insider, LRB, of course, from Nonstop Action Wrestling, also the first ever 2-time UKW Academy champion, also former UKW TV champion. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. But I remember as a kid, there was a guy, and I was outside. It was about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning because a few doors down from me was a doctor's office. So people would go into this doctor's office in and out, and the guy would say, well, I remember in like 1958 that it was just this and that, and everybody left their doors open. It was like then, this is like 1994 or 95, and this is probably like, oh wow, this guy is like 30 plus years ago. He was doing what I was doing, and he said it was even a simpler time. But now it's almost 30 years later from when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and now I could never imagine doing what I did in 1994.
You can't, and it's just going to be in another 30 years, like with my kids.
I don't even want to think about it. I hope I'm not alive in 30 years from now. I almost part of me says, because I shudder to think what it'll be like. I just shudder to think what it'll be like. But coming back, because I don't want to get too off the cliff here. But when it comes to, let's say, your goals for pro wrestling here for the rest of the year, obviously I know winning the world title here at NSAW is a big part of that. Maybe get into some other companies, but is there any other goals of note that you'd like to share for the rest of 2022 here?
No, other than winning titles and trying to get on more promotions, that's my main aim for the back end of the year or the start of next year altogether, is just to try and get out there more, try and get my name out there a lot more with as far as I can, as big as I can. That's my aim now. Now I've got things sorted. Now I want to get back into it more. Like I said, I want to get back into it more before that love goes again. Because I've been there where that love for wrestling's gone, and I've been dragged back into it, and I don't want to go there again. I need to try and get as much as I can done.
And I want to see it back in the ring, and I want to see it back in the ring for different companies. I'll even throw in there because I know Mr. Angel will get wind of it some way or another. And then GT Ministries, I think, would be an excellent place. Who knows? I should even throw it out there. I mean, boy, I'm going to probably really get in trouble here with the Forbidden Door. But, I mean, I know that Mr. Tommy Dillon has open challenges out there quite a bit in GT Ministries. I mean, Wouldn't it be ironic? Wouldn't it be interesting if, I don't know, one day maybe LRB answered one of those challenges? I mean, that would be a little interesting.
I've already spoke about this before.
I knew it was coming. That's why I asked it.
I've already spoken to him before, saying here, your open challenges you do. So I understand the guys who he's had at the minute with these open challenges, and he's done brilliant with them.
Champ Rogers, Leone Rose was part of it. I mean,
Connor, he has had some good challenges come his way. I think I can't remember what it were when I spoke to him about this when he were doing them. I went, okay, let's say for instance you're at GT because you're planned an open challenge. I goes, what would you do if I answered? And he just said, do what we always do. He goes, we'll tear it up. He just that was his response. He goes, yeah, we'll just do what we've done before and just tear it up and see who wins. It's not that he'd win or I'd win. It, like, yeah, we just do what we do and see who wins.
I want to see it. I think GT Ministries management, and then you can follow GT Ministries UK, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, GT Ministries to watch all of the GT Ministry shows, especially the next one upcoming here at the Fountain Church on July the 16th, where we will see a 30-person Rumble to crown the #1 contender to Jack Johnson's championship, plus NSAW stars Goliath against the aforementioned Mr. Gareth Angel, and Disciple will be in a fatal four-way match where the winner will become the number 30 entrant, and the loser will be the #1 participant. And that is, of course, Disciple against the Metal God Alex Boylan, Rarebit, and Sean Only. I mean, listen, why not? I mean, at the end of the day, LRB and the wild card Tommy Dillon, that would be great for business. That would be a fun match, and that would be something I would want to see. I'd pay some pounds for. So I think that's an absolute no-brainer. We got to make this happen.
I promise you now, anywhere where me and Tommy can go one-on-one, you'll be in for a treat.
Oh, and I can't wait. And this is why I love GT Ministries, because in GT Ministries, there's a chance it could happen. But also the reason why I also love GT Ministries is because GT Ministries is one of the few companies around. UKW is another one, but GT Ministries actually streams their shows live as they're happening. So I can actually, from New York, from America, actually watch a GT Ministries show and watch the entire show. So I love GT Ministries for that, and I would love to see LRB there. So certainly that would be a very, very cool thing to see, and we'll certainly see if that happens. But I know we're coming close to your closing thoughts here, and obviously it is a tremendous honor to have you. I know you're a very busy man. You've got a lot going on here, obviously family, work, career, everything else in between. And I wanted to ask, because I know you have a lot of moments. Some of them we've got into here tonight on Sportswire Radio, but give me 1 or 2 moments in your career that stand out most so far.
First, want to be one of the first people to beat Rex Savage. That is, again, because like I said, I went in, I knew what Rex were capable of, but then I'd seen who he'd been through and decimated in UKW before me. So beating him on my first UKW show and then taking the title away from him, that's a big moment. Again, Tommy Dillon, being with him, as we discussed earlier, that's the biggest moment. Winning the TV title off Jepson, again, that was another big moment. And being on the show for Tommy Dillon's, when he did his charity show, being asked on that were a huge honour back then. I think that was a 6-man tag team match over in. And that were a good show. And obviously he's got his other one coming up this year, number 3. Obviously COVID's put him behind, but I'm sure he's going to knock it out of the park this year with what he's got planned. Really can't wait. Don't want December to come straight away because I'm not a big fan of Christmas, but I can't wait for December to come for that show.
I'm looking forward to that. All great things here. And I got to ask you, I mean, when it comes to winning those belts in UKW, do they give you like a replica belt? What do they do? So when you're a champion, I never ask this question to wrestlers for whatever reason. I should probably ask it, but I mean, do you keep the title at all times? What is that like?
You can if you want. I know these guys who want title and not, but some guys like to take them home.
I had Jack Johnson on in GT Ministries. He had the title when he was the champion. He had the belt with him on. I have to say, the first time we had him on, I think the first time he was challenging Gareth. The second time we had him on afterwards, he had the belt with him. I had Reynaldo in the LWF when he won the title, and he beat Nick Cutter for it. He had the belt with him. I think the second time he had it also, but I was always curious, do guys keep the title?
Yeah, we UKW I did. I have affection on all titles I had. To be honest, the first time I'd won the title, yeah. The first time I won the UKW title, I got home and I did the CM Punk style and put it in fridge.
I remember that.
It is on my page somewhere. I was somewhere in there, but I did a comparison to Punk's WWE title in with all his fruit and veg, and then my WWE title were in there surrounded by my UKW title were in there surrounded by beer. So it was a nice little comparison video picture.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I always thought, you know what, why should I not ask this question? Because I mean, like I said, some guys we've had on, obviously the CCW guys, they've had the belts with them, but I'm always curious, like, do wrestlers keep the belts at all times? Do they travel with the belt?
Some do, some don't. I'm assuming it goes on each promoter, like, but the promoters I know have always said, if you want to take belt, we take it. We just obviously then it's up to you to look after it. make sure they get damaged, make sure what happens to it. Because obviously we've seen stories when wrestlers had titles and the bags have gone missing or they've been nicked.
Yep, I've seen those. Do you get nervous, by the way? Do you get nervous with that? Because I always would feel like, well, I mean, something could happen, right? Would you feel nervous at all at any point?
I do a little, because I always think I've not got for me, it's not a fear of losing it. It's a fear of getting damaged or marked.
Okay.
Because obviously, again, as a collector, I hate any marks on belts or all that, because they need to always look.
I used to collect a lot also as a kid, like in America, baseball cards, and I would always be like, don't ruin the card.
Don't bend it. Yeah.
Belt. This would be the same thing.
They've got to be pristine. So again, like I said, I always got mine. You went to my bag, I've always got a towel in my bag, so I'd always be wrapped up in towel, placed on, so no could mark it, no could scratch it. Bring it home, show friends and family. It goes back in the bag, or I'd put it on display if I've got somewhere for it. Again, it'd always be looked after, had it away. Again, then when we used to travel again, back in the towel, back in bag, and it were always took back.
All right, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like looking after a puppy or something. You've got to make sure you don't lose it, don't damage it. Because honestly, I think one of my worst fears is I won't like to go back to the wrestling company and go, I've lost your belt. Obviously, for a small wrestling company, that's a lot of money's worth down.
I was going to say, to actually make a belt, it's a lot of money.
And unlike big companies, they've only got one belt. They've not got 3 or 4 of that belt, so they can't exactly go. Fair enough, we can do.
Vince McMahon's a billionaire. If some wrestler loses his belt, I'm sure he could come up with a belt in 15 minutes. I mean, but
I know. Usually, like I don't know how AEW work at a minute, but I know WWE usually have 3 or 4 of the same belt. They have the TV belt, which obviously your Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-view belts. You have your house show belt, and then you have like your appearances belt.
Yep.
I think 9 times out of 10, the belt they use for appearances, like when they do signings, and it's just usually a replica anyway.
Yep. For sure.
When I first got told that, I didn't believe it at first. It were only when either a show here in Sheffield or Nottingham, I went to a WWE live house show and noticed it with various titles. I think it's when Roman, not long after WrestleMania 32, 2016, sure it was Sheffield. Roman had the WWE titles after he won Triple H. The belt he had on the house show, he had no his side plates. They were just the normal stock WWE plates. So that's how I knew that were a different belt to what he carries on TV. I think I seen it with Cesaro when he had the United States Championship.
Yep.
He had a different version of that because the TV one had a gold tip. The one he used on the house show didn't. So they do usually do that. But obviously, a smaller company can't do that. They can't afford to have 2 or 3 at the same belt.
Listen, like I said, I know what the cost of a belt is, and certainly those things definitely do cost something. And I do want to get to a few comments. I agree. Young Horace will seize his destiny at some point. Yeah, I think Young Horace is definitely due. Champ Rogers, huge shout out to the Patriarch. The Super Dad obviously says, we love LRB and the Rogers household. So certainly the Champ.
Me too, buddy. Thank you.
Yep. We love Champ Rogers. Champ Rogers is definitely a favorite. He's definitely a big hugger. Something tells me here.
Oh, yes. Always hug him. Always got around. I don't mind being a nugger. I always hug him.
Now, I'm sure love a hug from Champ Rogers. The Lawman Kyle Kennedy, maybe not so much, but I'm sure you love that hug. Champ
Rogers, always, every time you see him, it's a hug.
He's a good guy. Champ Rogers, there's something about Champ Rogers. Champ Rogers.
Most guys, an handshake with Champ Rogers, it's not even an handshake.
No, he goes right for the chest. He goes right for the love handles. That's what Champ Rogers is about. Champ Rogers, I love it. You love it. I'm glad you love it. Some other wrestlers, maybe not so much, but that's why we love Champ Rogers, and we're going to have Champ Rogers come back on here in a couple of weeks. So we're going to break that here on Sportswire Radio. Just got to figure out the time and location. A lot of NSAW talent is coming on here. We have Jenny Hayes, who's coming back on here next week. We have the contract signing at 7:30 British Standard Time with Connor Cage and the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. That's Tuesday night with Joshua Snow. Excited about that. Richard Knight, as we broke here, also he's coming on Monday, 11th of July, 7:30 British Standard Time. Slugger Hampton, who's wrestled in NSAW, I guess that would count. We're also going to break it. Disciple is coming back next Thursday. He's coming back once again. So everybody's in the house here from Non-Stop Action Wrestling. And Champ Rogers says LRB only gets legit loving hugs. I'd say he was the best hugger after the Patriarch. So congratulations, you won something.
you.
You're the best hugger
Thank
after
you.
the Patriarch. That's always good, right? It's always good to say you've won something, and certainly you have definitely won something here. It has been a tremendous honor to have had on here LRB, pro wrestling star. And like I said, I know he doesn't want to make the case, but I'll make it for him one more time. If I'm Joshua Snow, if I'm Richard Knight, and I'm going to ask Richard Knight that question next Monday for you. I know you don't want me to do it, but I'll ask it anyway. I will ask that question.
Go for it.
I will ask it. This is a guy, you look at his resume, look at his case, look at what he's done here in his career, look at what he's done in defending NSAW, getting that big win over the Working Class Militia, who certainly are on quite a run in their own right, the CCW Tag Team Champions. Look at what they've done to the society. Look at what LRB has done in terms of his overall career. Big wins against Rex Savage and Tommy Dillon in the past, and being in the ring with Steele and a whole bunch of people in UKW that he has been in the ring with and is defeated as the first ever two-time UKW Academy champion and also a TV champion. He's done it all pretty much in UKW. This is a guy that would be an excellent candidate, that would be an excellent person to represent NSAW in that 8-person tournament to crown the company's first ever world-class champion. We will definitely make that case for him, I promise you. Tuesday night. Everyone's talking about Connor Cage and Champ Rogers and Kyle Kennedy and Disciple and everybody else here. And Joshua Snow chimes in here and says, who said we haven't seen his resume with the wink? It's an impressive one to be sure. Yes. Well, we're not saying anything derogatory towards you,
No.
What we're saying is that he's got an excellent case to be in this tournament. That's what we're saying, that he's an excellent candidate. He is somebody that I think could be an excellent person when I think about defending NSAW, representing NSAW, and also being somebody that could be a potential candidate to win this championship. Mr. So, I'm looking forward to being with you again. That contract signing with you and the lawman Kyle Kennedy and Connor Cage, and that stipulation will be the winner of that match will have a spot in the 8-person tournament to crown the NSAW World Class Champion. And LRB, it's been a tremendous honor. I know you're a busy man, so I want to now give you the floor. Anything you want to plug, share, say, anything else you want to say to fans, family, friends, supporters, NSAW, anything else, the floor is yours, and fire away, my friend.
First of all, brother, thank you for having me on here. It's been an honor. Like I say, I've seen these shows go on all that. As soon as I seen Tommy on it, I thought, yeah, I need to get on here. I need to say some stuff. Good. I'm glad you got back to me straight away.
Hopefully, you're LRB. What do you think? I was going to have you wait a year?
Hopefully, come back again soon.
Absolutely, you know that.
Joshua Snow, thank you for popping up. I know you have seen my resume. I know you know what I can do. Hopefully, you have considered me for this. You do consider me for the 8-man tournament. But if not, I don't mind. It'll not be nothing bad to me. It'll mean nothing bad. It just means for me, I'll have to work a bit harder to get that title. Fans, I'll hopefully try and again get back into UKW. I want to get into places like GT Ministries, Blackheart. I want to come there. But just thank you for everyone who's come and watched. Thank you for everyone who's commented. It has been a real honour to come on. And for yourself and everyone else in America, happy 4th of July for tomorrow.
Oh, I appreciate that. But I was actually good. I actually thought you were going to say this, so I actually had something funny planned, and I have a comment from Mr. Snow. I actually had something kind of funny to say to it. I said, well, I mean, I know it's kind of quote-unquote Independence Day, but since I do so much work here in the UK, I mean, I would rather just say, well, I mean, should I just give up my American citizenship just to become?
Oh, no, bro, no.
It was a joke. I was trying to do something funny because I love everybody in England, and I want to say everybody's been so gracious. I do also a lot of boxing coverage. We work with some boxing promoters and such, and you know, I always know it's like in a way it's kind of in the history books, kind of an awkward day, but I love England so much at this point because we speak with so many people here that I almost kind of wanted to say something funny, kind of as a tribute to everybody here. So that was kind of my thought. But I did want to point out, you did mention Blackheart Wrestling, and I know that they had an event here tonight, and I think whoever might be listening from Blackheart Wrestling, because I think I might know somebody actually who might be coming on in the future from Blackheart Wrestling. might want to look at LRB and say LRB could be somebody, maybe if it works out, to be on that next show. So I would just say stay tuned for that. Just maybe. I know GT Ministries we spoke a lot about. We'll do a lot of GT Ministries coverage here between now and the 16th. Disciple's going to be back in the house. Bentley's coming back. But I would say that Blackheart Wrestling, LRB, great resume here. And Joshua Snow also says, and he doesn't mouth off about his skill either. Always a pleasure to meet and always a treat to watch in the ring. And I could not agree enough with what Mr. Snow said. I couldn't agree any more, I should say. Because when it comes to meeting, watching, gotten a chance to do both now, LRB is definitely somebody that's coming on here before August the 13th. And my friend, congratulations on the comeback. Congratulations on all the big wins here in NSAW so far. I'm looking forward to having you on here in the near and distant future before the 13th of August. I hope to see it maybe in GT Ministries. I hope maybe to see it in Blackheart Wrestling. I hope even in UKW down the road. But in the meantime, congratulations. It has been a tremendous honor. I admire all those belts. I admire the New York sign. I admire the Broadway sign also. I admire all of your memorabilia, and I'm looking forward to seeing you have more gold here in the near and distant future. And who knows, maybe even one day you and Tommy Dillon together here on a Sportswire show. I think that would be cool. I think that's something I think I'm going to work on. I think we're going to figure that out here. But I can't thank you enough, my friend, and go get him out there, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you here before the 13th of August.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
As we're here on the Sports Report, one Global Sports Show with Pro Wrestling Star here from Nonstop Action Wrestling, the first ever UKW two-time Academy champion and former UKW TV champion. That is LRB. As I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll go back to your regularly scheduled programming. We'll be back here Tuesday night, 7:30 British Standard Time, with the Lawman, Cal Kennedy, and the Golden Boy, as some may call him, Connor Cage, along with Joshua Stone for the contract signing. For the participant of that match, who wins will be in that 8-person tournament to crown the NSAW World Class Champion on August the 13th, Fire and Gold. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching tonight. Thank you to LRB. We'll be back here Tuesday night here on Sportswire Radio. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce.